usually a numbers guy. And things like that. That's why I like looking at the numbers and stuff.
Same here, man. I learned that when I worked for AT&T. I was a manager, a store manager. I was a sales rep, and so we would look at our commissions.
Yeah.
Right, and so, but the thing was, we had access to it, but a lot of people didn't realize that you had access to what you were selling. And so, if you kept track and you looked at, you did those reports and you ran them, you could clearly see who was doing what. And so you're like, okay, that's why that's why he's always number one. That's why he's right. See, he's selling more insurance. Yeah, it may only be $5. Everybody's trying to get text messaging package for $30 or $40, but he's just got that little edge, that little $5 here, $5 there. It stacks up, and before you know it, you're over the top, and boom, nobody can figure that out. Yeah. So it all adds up at the end. Same thing when it comes to sales, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, how many heads are you cutting? What's the time that it takes you to cut a head?
Yep.
And our, on the site, as far as booking goes, are you blocking off 45 minutes or are you scheduling 30 minutes for a haircut, right? And so then there's a gap. Would you like to have a gap between each customer, or do you want them back to back?
Exactly.
So time is a big thing there as well.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. And then there's that trade-off between time and quality, right? Because you can rush them in and out, but then your quality drops.
I'm glad you said that, because I like to make sure I tell anybody who's new, right? We all try to like run through haircuts, and I'm like, whoa, let's let's be efficient is the word, right?
Yeah.
We can do something.
Because the time will start. Like if you're cutting, like I was cutting like an hour a cut when I started at the school, and at first I was like, man, I need to get faster, and then one of the guys there was just like, nah, you'll get faster, like, once you get more used to it. He's like, but right now, just focus on the cut. He's like, you'll develop the speed, and then you'll find where you're at on that speed. Yeah.
Right. Totally agree with that, because the moment you start skipping the sequence or the step, right, then you're no longer getting, better and improving. You're just putting out maybe garbage fast. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then you're most likely to get negative remarks and negative comments spread faster than positive. There's rarely anyone that stops and gives. I mean, I think it's a little different nowadays because people are used to doing it a little bit more going on. But before, like, when you would send out surveys, you were most likely get someone that was pissed off filling out a survey than someone that was happy about it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And so that's why, like, quality in the long run, like, you may make the quicker buck going quickly.
Quality is
but quality is gonna last longer.
But you're hurting yourself in the long run, because return customers are key.
You already know.
Yeah, return customers, because you can sit there all day. So back on the survey, like, that's when we were working for AT&T, it was all about the customer service part of it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I learned. So I fight to make sure that I spend that last 5 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever it is, before they get out of the chair. You're like, what did I miss? What did I miss? Double check your work, comb their hair, because you don't want them leaving and they find out when they get home that they got this big old strand just kicking out right there on the side.
And then
straight to review, right?
Yeah, they're on the Google review and say, this guy left a big old strand. They suck.
Yeah, they suck. But and to you, like you just said again, I'll piggyback off of that. So people, like he said earlier, Sam said earlier, that people like that you work next to, they pick up on that too. Like, if they're picking up on that, your reputation is at stake, So people are like, you're known for the guy that's just doing half-assed cuts.
Exactly.
And so, that's something that's a big factor when it comes to custom. Now, there's some things you can't handle, you know what I mean? If you're busy and you're sought after, if you get a bad review, I had to wait, or, it's hard to get into this guy. I've had some that are like that, and it's like, man, I mean,
it is what it is. I mean, I think at that point, that's a good problem, right? If someone says it's hard to get in with you, that's a good problem. That's a good. But like, to your point, but then again, that's when you start looking at different methods, right? So like, you have other barbers around you. You're training them. They're doing the same thing. You pull people up, and
yeah.
So
I tell all my well, I don't tell all my clients. I've told all my clients now, even like the new ones. I always say it to the most is like you like it, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, tell me the truth, man. I was like, you ain't gonna hurt my feelings. I was like, and me and you both got to wear this haircut. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, look, if you don't like it and you don't tell me, you're gonna walk out and you're gonna get two type of remarks. They're gonna be like, damn, who did your haircut? That looks nice. And or you're gonna get, dude, who did your haircut?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
well, that's good because look, we just laughed about it.
Yeah.
You got him to open up because I find that that's typical of customers,
Yeah.
where they no reaction. We're just and you're trying to figure out did you hit the mark or did you not, and that's something you need to ask before they leave, because one, I want to be your barber, right? So let's have an open communication, because if you're gonna wear this and you're cool with it, and maybe you want to try something new, but get some feedback out there. But you can talk to me and tell me, hey, I like the last haircut, but let's go a little tighter, okay? Or let's let it be a little longer right here. But I'm here to work with you on the haircut. I'm not just gonna like cut your hair and tough deal with it, and you feel like, man, I can't talk to this guy. I'm gonna try. It's uncomfortable. I'm gonna try somebody else.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I think that's key, right? You're building that relationship
Right.
there, because honestly, I think as a society we're built not to do that, right? You go into a restaurant, you get a bad meal, like you don't sometimes send it back
90%.
because you're like
Right,
I don't
right.
want what you
I don't know
He's
what
not
you
me.
thought.
but as soon as you walk out, you're like, yeah, I'm not going there again.
Right.
Oh, now you
You're
got
like,
that right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's true that
But-
your first reaction
But
would
that's
be
bad though, because
Yeah.
you're not really giving
yeah,
that a second chance.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But again, I mean, we're in a society where sometimes, like, I think depending on the industry, the shop and what you're in, are they open to the feedback, right? So restaurants got so big and fast, especially if they're commercialized. Like
Yeah.
they really don't want the feedback. They want you to eat, get out, and then put another
of
seat.
course,
Yeah.
right.
But like a shop like this, like yours, things
Right.
like that, they want the
intimate,
feedback
right,
because
of
they
course.
want you to be happy.
course.
It's
Yeah,
very
of course,
customer
right.
focused.
Yeah, it's tolerance level, and you're right to that fact that like, for instance, it
Yeah, you
depends
exactly
on
right, Tony.
It depends on the person, right? Like, so like I'm the customer, right? What's my background? Well, I'm in the service industry.
Yeah.
So therefore, you kind of give a little bit of empathy or sympathy to the fact that these guys are busy or whatever, and sometimes you just like, I get it, I don't want to say anything, but so you just go to the, like, I probably won't go back there. I'll save my money on till things start, like right after COVID. That, for instance, people were overworked at one point, right?
Yeah.
You were walking in any place and they were just slopping stuff on the plate, and you're like, man, I could have done this at home, and so you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait till everybody starts getting a little bit in a better mood,
Yeah.
and can put a little bit more love onto that, and. So with that being said, yeah, I don't want to get to that point to where I let them walk out and then have the quiet. Well, instead of quiet quitting, it's it's kind of like a quiet no show anymore to
Yeah.
your location. It's just like, and then you as a barber, you're like, hey man, I haven't seen that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Every so often, where's he been? Every so often, I have that, and it's cool that all of a sudden they'll just pop up whenever I think about it. I don't know if you have that. Do you ever have that as a barber?
Yeah.
You're like, they pop in your head, right? A customer you hadn't seen, and all of a sudden, boom, they book like the next day. It's so weird,
Yeah.
But,
that's having a few good times.
right?
I'll say this much, like it's funny because now that I do this, like working with Sammy and then kind of just being around people who, like the surveys and stuff, like how important it is to voice your opinion and stuff like that. Like I literally tried a new Gold's Gym in Austin. Walk in, it's fully packed, like everything's packed. But I went at peak hour too,
Right.
and there's nothing open. I've gone at peak hours once here, and at least there's something open. There's nothing, so I'm like, hell no. I got like an hour before I gotta go, and I'm like, I just need to just yeah.
Who's gonna say it?
The close sign was there.
Yeah.
we were just playing around.
We're like,
with
come
people.
on,
We just-
come on in, come on in. Hey, pull up a mic.
I
Let's
thought they
see
knew
what's going on in
you
your
were
world.
there.
No,
I thought it was someone you guys knew.
no.
I was like, oh.
Well, I
this-
wish she was good looking.
Yeah.
I was.
Oh, that's.
I thought it was someone with you. I was like,
Yeah, no, that would have been nice
She was
to
like,
be
"Do you
wanted.
mind?" stopping what you're doing right now, cutting
Yeah.
someone's hair in the middle.
Yeah. No, I don't have anybody right now. Pretty single,
But oh, so I filled out. So they sent me a survey. Normally I ignore the surveys. I know.
Start?
Yeah, we're pretty well. I was gonna come back and do the formality thing in a second because we jumped right into it. And I filled out the survey, right? And I was pleasantly surprised. The guy actually reached out to me, sent me an email, and said, "Yeah, we get it. We're at peak time, blah blah blah." And like, I'm be willing to try it out again, even though I know it's packed. But it's like I would have to try it out at a different hour or something.
you.
But at least, like, I knew he read my survey and he actually responded to me.
Hey,
and I was
that's
just
dope.
Like, hey,
yeah. Which
because I left there like I'm never coming to this place again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
too packed. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have time for this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some
totally
people
know that.
reach out always like the people that call here and when we're busy and we can't get them in, like they've literally thanked me for like taking my time to just talk to them. I'm like, yeah, sorry man, we can't get you in. Like we're fully booked. Like we can try. And, oh no, but thank you. Like, and they'll remember that. So when they go wherever they're gonna go, if they get treated like crap, they're gonna be like, that guy was nice to me on the phone.
Right.
I'm gonna-
Yeah.
I'm gonna try them when they are available. And I agree. I try to be nice, and I start off by being the empathy, right? Oh, I'm so sorry. We're fully booked, but if you look at our schedule, here's the easiest way to get in the future.
Yeah.
And set them up for something like that versus just walking into a shop where everybody just stops and looks at you and gives you a stare. And like, right, and then they look at everybody else and like, who's gonna get it? Who wants that? The first response should be, "Hey, welcome in."
Yeah.
You know?
That used to be like the old school barber. Like when you would walk in, like I remember walking into new barbershops and you walk in and everyone just turns and looks.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right,
so what's the process? Am I waiting? Because typically you would just like, you kind of guessed who was there before you.
Right.
And you're like, okay, they're calling this person, that person. Like no
Right.
one ever used to stop and be like, this is how it works.
Yeah,
You just walked in,
You
you
just try to
sat there.
figure it
Yeah.
out, and you're like, okay, he's a hit. Okay, now and
You
then
can tell when people come from those type of barbershops because they'll walk right into ours and they'll be like, so I got to sign up or something? And I'm like, hey, hello. Like, 'cause they'll just walk straight in and ask the question without introduction.
Yeah.
So they're used to barbershops not introducing themselves. So I'll be like,
Right.
hey, yeah, nah, man, like,
Yeah.
you don't have to sign in. I was like,
Yeah.
there's going to be a little bit of a wait. I was like, if you don't want to wait, you just scan this. I either give them a card or I tell them to scan over there. And I'm like, you scan it, you book your appointment, man. You don't got to wait.
You ready to
Like,
go.
oh, okay. Thank you so much. Like,
Yeah.
easy responses
No, definitely.
go a long way.
Oh, your QR
Yeah.
over there. That's
Yeah.
right. That's awesome. I got to get one of those.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. So I know we were already talking, we got right into it, but welcome to the Local Love Podcast.
Yeah.
This is Tony.
Sam?
Manny.
And we
And
got
Chris San Miguel.
Chris. So we got Chris here. Chris, why don't you tell everyone, I'm sure they know from the first few minutes, but
Right.
Yeah.
where your shop's at and stuff like that.
Right on. So I am a business owner. I have my own barbershop. It's a rooftop barbershop over in Midtown, over San Pedro, near the San Antonio College. And been there for about 3+ years now. I started out, went to Barber College back in 2017 with Sam here. And we graduated, I got into my first shop. Did a year time there, just kind of honing my craft and just paying my dues, taking one customer at a time, and I got to a point to where I was like, figuring I was pretty steady enough to where I was like, hey, it's time to break away and do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being told what to do, so that's another thing either. I just want to be my own boss. I don't need shop owners. They can
You can micromanage.
Yeah, so shop owners, especially the one that I was at, he wasn't even a barber, so he really didn't know what I was going
that
through.
must have been tough.
Yeah, it was like for him to understand. Like when you're a new barber, there's so many things that you've got to overcome. One of them is mental stamina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you were saying earlier, you were taking an hour. You were doing badass at school, man. You were far more advanced than I was. I didn't cut hair prior to this at all. So I was taking that good hour and a half to 2 hours to do a haircut, and straining the customer out. Like they're just moving around, just like, you done yet? And I'm like, so it took me some time. So at this new shop, that's what I did, is focus on trying to get it right and do it tight, right? And not have that the quality walk out of there. And so whatchamacallit, I had issues with the owner because he wanted me to just kind of like, all right, I got somebody for you. Let's see if we can get you this. You want another one? Can I do this? And it's like, hold on, it's like I'm going at a comfortable pace, and my numbers aren't going down, they're going up. And when I say him putting something in my chair, like I just mean that like he would call a buddy up or try and get somebody and squeeze people in, and when I'm already got people in the chair, and giving that feeling of like just overwhelming, right? And so when you're a new barber, again, I'm working on my ergonomics, right, which is posture and trying, you spending a whole day cutting hair. You get somebody new doing that, it will beat you up. Yep. It will, and you get your arms cramping from the motions and cutting so much and leaning over to do a beard, and your shoulders, it beats you up. And so that whole year was just honing my craft and building up stamina for the longer hours. And so finally, I told him, I go, you just let me know when you're ready. I go, I'm doing fine. I go, if you come to me, because my numbers are going down, and I say, money wise, then we can talk, but I don't see there being a problem here, man. Yeah. So you just let me know when you want to throw in the towel. And, and that was that. And so, when that year hit, I was like, all right, man, I'm a loyal person too, man. Like I put in the time and the work. That's the one thing about barbers these days is another issue. But I put in my time. I gave him a good year. I told him, hey man, while I'm here, and I was at an older barber shop, right, where you got 70, 60-year-old barbers in there, grandma and grandpa working in there. And so so I was like, that's the best. Like that's the best. You just blend in, and nobody's, everybody stays in their own lane, and we got a youngin' in here, and they get all happy and excited, the new blood is in there, and I felt great. And so it was a good time, man. I learned some really cool things from them, and they kept my head up, the positivity, because you see these new barbers sitting in the chair and they're wondering why they ain't busy, and I can handle that. I know I'm gonna get good. I'm gonna be okay, but some of them can't handle that. The pressure of just like, man, there's nobody here all day. Well, I'm like, how many cards did you hand out when you went to HEB? How many cards did you hand out when you went to the gym? How many cards did you hand out at the gas station? 0. Okay, well then why are you, were you like, how can you sit there and say that you gave it your all, and, and then blame it on the shop too, by the way,
This thing right here. What? This thing right here is such a good promotion.
Hello, you're right, exactly.
You just post up, I've tried, when I was starting, I posted up, I took a picture of every single haircut that I did. I was posting up, got openings.
I remember.
Yeah. And I would I would time it, and then I would learn algorithms. I'm like, okay, if I post it up in the morning, if I post up again within an hour, it's not gonna show it so much because you already posted twice. So one post might get popular, but the other one won't. So I would time it every hour, every 2 hours or 3, and post up another one, and then post up another one. Hashtagging, doing whatever I could, hitting up people. I stay in people's DMs all the time. You know why? Because you get stuck in their algorithm. Because you've been talking to them, you get stuck in their algorithm. So when they get on their phone, guess who pops up? Me. Yeah. And then so I stay like that. That's how you stay in those people's minds. And then one of the things I do too is, and they'll. I mean, everyone knows it. I post up Ninja Turtle stuff. I post up tattoos. I post up whatever, and then I'll just randomly put got openings, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw your thing. You had openings," because it's right in the middle. You just gotta keep pushing. You shouldn't just sit there and hope that someone's gonna walk in, because that's how you end up getting one cut and being miserable.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, stay relevant, right?
Yeah.
Put something out there, and then tag something to remind them. And that's my biggest peeve. I will go nuts in the shop when I have somebody new, and I've had multiples they come and go barbers that they'll blame it on the shop and they'll blame it on it's slow. And it's like, I don't recall anybody ever helping me out. Like, I just did it on my own. Like, I mean, and how do you get them to come back? Well, you do a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science. You show up and don't suck, right? I mean, you just, put in the time, but, some of those things where they just, it's slow again and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's not. It really has to do with what you're putting into it in that, that quality like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's the math part too that they don't. A lot of barbers don't get. Like, I tell barbers all the time, like, they'll be like, man, I only got like 3 haircuts. I was like, you got 3 haircuts, bro.
Yeah, some bread is better than no bread.
Well,
I mean,
I
right?
think
Like,
some of it is like you were talking about earlier. You were in sales and stuff, and so typically when you're in sales, you're gonna have your high months or high days and low days. And if you're barely getting into like an industry like that, where if you just went to a regular job that paid you consistently for showing up, like going into a sales commission type job is totally different.
it is.
Because you have to learn how to manage your money better. You got to learn how to know that there's going to be dry spells, and then there's going to be high spells. And like sometimes if you're focused so much on the high spells and you're like, all right, and you build all your finances on the high spells, well, you screw up because you didn't count for when it goes down.
Yeah.
You want to know how you make your slow days busy? You constantly tell your clients when your slow days are.
Yeah.
When you constantly tell them that,
Right.
they'll tell their friends that, and they'll remember that. So now, when your
That's
weekends
true.
are super busy,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, Sam always says Tuesdays and Wednesdays are slow."
Right.
Boom, they book Tuesdays
Yeah.
and Wednesdays
Yeah,
instead.
that's
And now
true. That's true. That's a
what I
good
constantly-
tactic.
I'm like, they're like, "Oh, when are you busy?" I'm like, "Well, usually I'm slow on Tuesdays and Wednesdays." I don't tell them when I'm busy because they know
Yeah.
when I'm
Right,
busy.
right,
So
right.
Chris, what got you
Yeah.
into barber? Like what led you down this path of becoming a barber and then a barber shop?
Owner, right?
Yeah, man. Well, so I was in that industry 10 years, right? I learned quite a bit, and then it was just I fell out of love with it, and I got out, and I'll just do the timeline, right? I got into the oil field because I wanted some quick cash, get in, get out, and hit it hard for 2 years. Did a really, I was moving up, man, making some really good money. But being out there sustaining something that just that wasn't even my niche, right? That was just something to make something real quick. It was time to just throw in the towel for that and come back home. I had kids as well at the time that needed me, and so I just needed to be present. So I came back and got back into the wireless industry. T-Mobile is what I did, and then while I was there, one of the girls that was working there,
Man,
her
hold up. You used to work at T-Mobile right over 410?
Yeah, thought she looked familiar.
Shut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about
Park
that.
North, or no? No, I mean
Right? The one right
Right
there on
here?
4. Yeah.
like right here.
Yeah, like right there. Like,
Right here. No, well, I mean, I was at a few of them.
It's
man.
it's really right there. Wait,
Okay,
where we at?
maybe not. I'm trying to remember. So I was at Park
It really
North.
was
which is
right. It was really right there. It was
Okay,
right
no.
there. Yeah.
I was at the North Star Park North.
Nah.
Okay, and that at the Forum, I was at that one. And yeah, no, I never made it out this way.
Okay, nah.
Maybe I was there for a day. I don't know, but yeah, I did that. And one of the girls that was working there, her boyfriend shows up, looking all cool, nice haircut. He's all sunglasses, driving a 350Z. I was like, what does he do for a living? Oh, he's a barber. I was like, really? She goes, yeah, he makes some pretty good money. And I was like, really? How's he? So she told me how he went to barber college. And she's like, you should check it out. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, shit, we used to cut each other's hair back in high school. Like, not anything great, right? So my mom would take us to go get our haircuts, and then we'd come home and we had some clicker. The weekend would come, right? So we'd want to clean ourselves up, and so we would cut each other's hair just to tighten it up a little bit. And so I remembered that, and I was like, well, let me what I got to lose, right? I went over there to the barber college. And they were good about just going in there, like getting you, financially secure, right? They got you logged into the Mahela website to get your student aid, and boom, I got qualified, and the ball just kept rolling, And I've always been somebody to get into industries, and like, I love just trying to learn them, right? So that was another thing too. So there was just another thing for me to learn the oil field, right? I learned bartending, right? I learned some other things along the way, right? And so I got into this, and I had sales experience, so I knew how to talk to people. I don't know if he remembered, but I really didn't talk too much back in barber college. I was like a fly on the wall, man. I felt like I was in the pinta, right? I was in the fucking, I was like just back against the wall. Everybody just being,
you would only really talk to Mitchell.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That was just, that was my
yeah.
little homie at the time, and that was it. Just a couple of select people, right, within the class. I don't think that I wasn't, how do I say this without sounding snooty, right? I just don't feel
say
like,
it like it is.
yeah, I just feel like they weren't on my level, you know what I mean? Like see how we're talking, communicating, intellect, right? So feeling like I'm a deeper thinker, and a lot of them, like you said, and that's the way it goes down in the barber shops, where it's just like everybody's just kind of like just talking shit. There's no substance. Everybody's talking shit and who's better than who, and talking, you just down about other people. And look, we were doing time. I mean, right? Yeah. Literally, we were trying to do our time. And
you had to clock out.
You had to clock in and out. Like, that was our thing. Just do the time.
Even eat there. There would be like, you got to eat outside.
Yeah. There was so many regulations there from so many other kids that would go in there and screw it up for everybody, right? Yeah. Some kid probably left a bunch of trash in the break room. And they were like, all right, there you go. All right, nope, we're not going to do that anymore. So by the time we got there, all these rules and regulations, it just felt like we were on lockdown. You know what I mean? Like, just you couldn't really get away with anything. And so we made it through the year there. But I guess I had an eye for it, man. I don't, because back in high school, that we were all about our hair, man. Like, it was all just hairspray and fucking, the Poly D blowout is back, kind of like the thing. That's what we were, just crap load of hairspray, just high like this, man. Right? It was back. I'm 46. I'm gonna be 46. So the 90s were my days, right? And so I really cared. So that kind of gave me an edge, right? Like seeing longer hair and what looks cool. Like I can actually compliment someone and be like, man, that looks pretty good. Like, and so it kind of spilt into my haircuts, where I noticed I already noticed that he was doing really well with those types of haircuts. Those types of clients only came to him. They weren't the not that he can't do them, but they weren't the typical like hood edge up haircuts, man. And he could do it, like I said, but I could tell that he was more passionate about those types of haircuts. Yeah. And so I love that too, and so that's how I got into it, man, and just still learning.
So then you were working somewhere for a year and said, all right, I'm gonna open up my shop. So how did that go about? Like, how'd you find the spot and everything?
Yeah, and do you get a lot of foot traffic? I mean, you over by Sac, right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of foot traffic coming in and out of there?
Yeah, I'm a rooftop barbershop, man. So it's a little different. It's got a different vibe, but the traffic over there there's a taco shop right across the street. So there's a lot of people just eating, and then they just kind of so happen to look up, and that's how they're like, man, how do I, it's like a speakeasy place, you know what I mean? Like when Prohibition was around and stuff, right? Those places you really didn't,
you gotta find the
secret knock or some shit like that, where they're like, how the fuck you get up there? There's no like, come on in, welcome.
Hey, that's the theme you need to go with.
College
kids love that stuff.
Hey, you got the secret password.
Yeah, straight up.
Cat is under the
you got to be
stairs.
cool to get in, right?
The cat is under the stairs.
you got, and somebody had to pass
By
that
the chimney.
Right, by the chimney.
You'd be surprised. Like, there's so many speakeasy bars around, around everywhere now, because that's just like the in thing. Like, you can find the passwords and everything anywhere you want to go. But it's just funny. It's just they call it speakeasy and everyone shows up. Yeah.
Straight up, man.
It's
so
funny, bro.
That's how it is. So the traffic in there is a little different, and it's because of that. They trying to figure out, some of them which want to figure out how to get up there. So then they'll search me on Google, and I use Square, and they're able to book it that way, or they'll give me a holler and say, hey, you have any time for a walk-in? And so I'll get my traffic like that. But getting back to building again too, like when I started, I was able to grab 98%, man, of my customers followed me. Nice. $20 haircuts kept me going till I got new customers, kept the old customers locked in, right, to that loyalty kind of grandfathered in $20. But as I was there, I would get the new ones, right? And we start going to 25 to 30, and we start, as one would be like, nah, it's a little too rich for me. Well, we take on some new customers and start to build that momentum with customers, and so that's how I got to where I'm at right now. But it is an interesting area. I got to admit, it is an interesting area, and filling gaps is kind of the way I would call it, right? So you got your schedule, right? And you got maybe like you got one at 11 a.m. and when I open up, right? And then I got to wait till like 2 for the next. It kind of started out that way, and then I'm all about all right. I need to fill those gaps, and how you did that obviously was you run into a new customer and you tell them, hey, preferably around these times, I'm like you were talking about earlier. And then you just start doing it, man. And a lot of these newer barbers can't seem to get their head around it. That's what they need to do to improve the amount of clients that they're getting in per week. Like some of them, like you ask them, like, how many cuts did you do last week? They'd be like, you'd be crickets, man. Like they wouldn't know how many haircuts do you do on average. They couldn't tell you that. You got to know that kind of stuff. That's something like how many heads did I do a day compared to last week? Yeah, they don't know that stuff. They just go in blindly, like, oh, it's just another day.
What's cool about the Square app too, because when you get on there, it'll tell you every last Thursday you fell down this much, or this Thursday you picked up. Right. It tells you. It tells you what you're doing and the numbers you're getting, and sometimes it's a good booster because you see like Wednesday sucked. But this Wednesday was incredible.
Right. I don't think it's just in the barbershop industry. I think people sometimes are looking for quick gratification that they don't realize like it's an investment. Like you knew going into where you went to, you were there a year. Mm-hmm. Part of that was an investment to learn. Like I think a lot of times in any business you go into or anything, or whether you're working for a corporation, the 7-Eleven, doesn't matter, McDonald's. They're investing in you and you're investing in them, right? Like you go, they're paying you a salary so that you do a job, but at the same time you could be learning stuff from them, and that's the investment you get back. Like you went to the barbershop, you're working there, they're investing in you because they know they're making money off of the haircuts you're doing, so they're investing into you to bring money back in. But you were using that as an investment too, to say, hey, I'm going to learn what to do and what not to do when I run my own shop. I'm going to learn, I'm going to take this time to build my skills and stuff. And I think sometimes people don't look at it that way. They come in and they're like, well, I'm just trying to get that new car, that new house. I'm just trying to make a quick buck. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize like this is an investment for long term. Like if you learn, you can own your own shop. You learn, you can do all this stuff. Like I think people have forgotten the American dream is about having that generational wealth, financial stability, which is not just about having the nicest car and this and that. It's about being able to be financial stable, which means you're not in debt. You can invest into other things. You can still have a good time and do all these other stuff.
Right. No, I love that that you mentioned that. I mean, because that is what's lost. Like I do go in somewhere and I'm like, this is a learning experience. Yeah. So I'm gonna one work for this company, right? Yep. It is an agreement between the two. Yep. They're teaching me a skill, right? Yep. I'm getting that out of that. I'm getting the skill. Mm-hmm. They're paying me for that. The whole teaching and learning at the same time. And then eventually you want to get to the point to where, okay, I've learned all I can from this particular business. Then you can look at the pay and say, all right, I've already learned all this stuff. I'm not getting anything out of this arrangement, this agreement, anymore.
Time to move around.
And it's time to run. Exactly. It's time to move on. You outgrew it. It's if you stay stagnant, that's and then which creates what? You being miserable, right? Yeah. Somebody gets on your nerves because they said something, right? Yeah. Your tolerance level is a lot lower. Like, man, I ain't getting paid enough for this.
You hit a cap, you're not being challenged, to whatever it is. And that's why like me and my brother, like when we were starting this, like we were figuring out our structure and stuff like that. And that was one of the things like we're like, we want other barbers to come in and we know like they're going to grow to a certain level where it's like, hey, I can do this on my own. And like we have two choices there, like, okay, go do it, or two, hey, let's work together. Let me help you invest and you go and do your thing. And hey, we keep working with each other.
Right.
Like, and I think that's what people miss in it. This is about investing in each other and trying to figure out, like, at the end of the day, it's all about, if we both win, everyone's winning, right?
Yeah,
Instead of having
totally.
competition with each other.
Yeah. Lifts you, if I lift you up,
Yeah.
I come with you at the same time. There's no diabolical thing where I'm gonna use you and drain you.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Some of these chop shops are different. They have that, and that's what I try to at least promote to somebody that comes in and say, hey, this is what you're getting from me versus being out there at a chop shop.
Yeah.
But because I want to be successful, and by getting you successful, that's the give and take out of the agreement.
Yeah.
And so
I
totally agree.
had a friend that came and asked me, like, we had just opened up the barbershop, and they were asking me, they were thinking about it. They weren't barbers and stuff, but they were thinking about investing in a supercut. And like I told them, I said, it's really about what are you looking for? Like, if you're looking for if you're looking to be speed, just shoot things, and you're gonna manage it and like time people and stuff like that, like that's what you should do then.
Right.
You should go open it up. You're gonna push. You're gonna drive efficiency. You're gonna get butts and seats out, and you'll gain your investment back. I said, there's a pros and cons. Like, you're gonna deal with a lot of crappy haircuts. You're gonna deal with a lot of complaints. You're gonna deal with a lot of different things. And if you're okay dealing with that, it's like when you run into certain areas, like like a McDonald's and stuff, they know they're gonna get complaints about cold food and stuff. That's why they hire managers who are gonna be able to deal with that. Who are like, yeah, whatever. You gotta have tough skin. Like, you're just like, yeah, whatever. Shout at me. Okay, we're done. Move on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
versus if you're at a fine restaurant, like
Where they
that's
gonna
gonna be
take
a
their
whole
time.
different person, whole
Right.
different people dealing with it.
Right.
And so I think that's some of the things people have to think about, like when they're going to their different industries and things like that. Like even with the barbershop, you want to be a barber, well, what's the reasons you're wanting to do it, right? Like if you're wanting to actually be an entrepreneur and do stuff, like you need to hustle. The shop's going to help you hustle, but you got to have a part in it. And it's like it's a partnership. It's an investment in each other.
Yeah. Being a barber will expose how much you really are a hustler. Like I've sat with people and they're just like constantly telling me, like I'm there with them in the same shop, and they're constantly telling me like how they hustle and everything, and I'm like, you haven't done nothing while we've been here. Like while you're talking, I'm already posting up pictures, and you're still just talking, and then they'll be like, man, I'm not busy. I'm like, yeah, I seen your Instagram.
Yeah.
Of course you're not busy.
There
like,
you go.
Like constantly, like I remember one of them, like they got a second job because they were just like, oh, I can't do it, and I'm just like,
Where's your hustle, right?
Yeah,
you gotta keep hustling.
That right
like,
there.
Where's your
like,
hustle?
That burns me, man. Like I get, you okay? So you got a job, and then you're doing this. Like you're not all in.
Exactly.
Like for me, when I got into this, I was like, okay, it's go time. I gotta survive. I gotta pay bills. I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, well, maybe if this doesn't, maybe I'll just work here until this picks up.
Sink
or
or
what.
swim.
I'm like, what do you gotta go all in. That shows you carry passion. It's gotta like all the fires gotta start.
I think that's part of
it's gotta come.
Yeah, and part of that is also like what we were talking about earlier is people don't know how to manage their finances. Like when you're a barber, you're an entrepreneur. You're your own, even if whether you're at a chop shop or whatever, unless you're working for like somewhere that's paying you a steady income, like you have to learn how to manage your finances, because if you're not managing your finances, then that's when you start running out and saying, oh, because you had one good week, now you're blowing that money on all this stuff instead of holding off and saying, hey, I gotta save until it's steady.
Right.
And then you're building that. And I think like that's one thing, like we definitely, like for us, like me and my brother talk about it, and we talk about it with people all the time, even on the podcast. And like when barbers coming in, like trying to talk with them about financial stability, like if you want to be a barber here, hey, we'll help you figure out how to help you. Like I'm not gonna get into your full
Personal
thing,
finances,
but I'll give
right.
you advice on how to
Right.
do it, because you have to learn how to manage your finances, because you're an entrepreneur, whether you own the shop or not, and you got to understand that like being a business owner, like that's totally different. Like there's funds all over the place.
Yeah, it is. Things pop up, right? So you got to worry about supplies now, right? And you got to worry about other barbers.
Right.
So it's not just about yourself,
Yeah.
and that's what I loved about when I was like, when I was in sales at the time, I only had to worry about me.
Yeah.
And then I started learning quickly when I got into the assistant, right, into the manager position, where it's just like, man, it's a lot of weight to carry. And it's much. You don't realize what you got. What you had. I'm sorry, when you were an individual, worried about your own individual income. And so, yeah, that's a big deal right there when it comes to income, man. Like them learning to manage it and be aware of things, of pitfalls that could happen, which are just, slow weeks and, bills coming up. And you get that good, like you just said, they get a nice paycheck one day, a busy day. They feel like they deserve.
Buddy,
yeah. They feel like they deserve. Let's go to we're going 54. No, let's go.
Time.
Yeah, we're going drinking hardcore. And then they shoot themselves in the foot because it's all gone.
Foot, ass.
Yeah. All around, man. No, really. And then, by the way, that's something else too. Like when these young, they go out and they spend it. They get hung over.
Yeah.
Then their productivity starts to fall behind. On top of that, it's just it's a downhill. If they're not able to stay focused. At the beginning, you should stay focused. You're just your first 3 to 6 months, man. Like that, I was just like you guys as far as like gauging where I was at within the first 2 weeks. I would start at like $50 for the week, right?
Yep.
First, the second week, maybe got into like 75 or whatever, or went back down to 50.
Yeah.
Then eventually a month went by. Okay, they were $150 checks, right? And then it's slowly, but I just shoot the straight 6 months. I was only making $300 a week, right? Yeah. At $20, but I was doing a lot of heads still. You know what I'm saying? So 6 months.
No, you're doing a lot of quality heads,
right? But we're doing quality. Exactly, they're coming back.
Right,
so you're
coming
seeing,
back.
they're actually coming back, and it starts to happen.
There's a difference, yeah.
But if you think about it, you've had any barber that comes in here, and to watch them start and do the process that you held steady and held fast to, they start falling apart. Yeah. Like they start like questioning themselves. They're like, man, what am I? Am I gonna make it or what?
Well, look, man, that just separate the men from the boys.
Right.
Let's just be honest. That's just what it is, man. That separate the people who really want it and the people who don't.
You're right. And it's it's alarming. It's a very alarming number of how many don't.
Oh no, it ain't alarming. It's what it is. You know what? You know what people do? People get into something and say, "Oh yeah, I want to get into this. I want to do this," and they're like, "Yeah, cool." Yeah. After a while, I'm like, "Oh, money's not coming in, man. I don't want to do that no more."
Well, the problem is sometimes,
but you know what I mean?
But they're looking at the end result of a lot of people.
But
they're forgetting what happened along the way. Like
nobody wants the process. It's funny. Nobody wants the process.
We're talking about this. The first thing that popped into my head is that Modelo commercial, that barber that they have on the Modelo commercial.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he how he was like he had to sell his car to and now like he does all like the big people's athletes and stuff. Yeah. But like you focus on that piece where they're showing them he's in his shop all dressed up and everything doing it. They show that piece, and they mention the other part, but people don't realize. But people don't realize, like, hey, this guy sold his car. Like he suffered. Like he put everything into it, and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, when they walk into your shop, right, they see you busy, and they think that's that's what it's supposed to be. But they don't. You're right. They don't want to put in the work, and they don't realize the work. So therefore, they like you said, they give up and they go, well, I'm gonna do, like I had a girl. They start changing. They start shifting, right? They start like, I had a girl that came in. She was Cosmo, right? She's like, hey, I want to cut men's hair. I'm like, all right, let's see if we can get you there. And then like we got like 2 months into it, and she's like, I don't know. I was talking to my boyfriend. And I was like, maybe I should do nails. And I'm like, look, what are you doing? You put 2 months in. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why are you're letting your mind get the best of you? But you're right. Like I shouldn't. Like once I started hearing that, it's already a done deal. Like they're already
and you never know. It could have been her boyfriend in her ear. Yeah, I'm not cutting no dude's hair. And
you're right. So you never know. Positivity as far as who's around you and lifting you up and saying, hey, stick it out.
Because look, let me tell you a story. My wife, she went to nursing school, right? And she had a hard time in nursing school. Like she wanted to quit. Like she told me, she's like, I can't do it. I'm quitting. I was like, oh no. Oh hell no. I'm like, you did not come all of this way to just quit. Like you can't do that. Like come on, man. I'm like, okay, you failed. So what? Get up, dust off, and keep going, man. I was greater later.
Hell yeah.
You know,
that's life.
She became a nurse, right?
Yeah, that's
she became a nurse.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great.
So-
Like you need positive people, like to reinforce some of the things that when they're stressing out, they cannot process that part of it, and they need to be reminded, right? And so that's somebody with good positivity that will help somebody get back on track and show them, hey, you've come this far, and you give them all the positive stuff, right? You said you wanted to do this. Think about this. Who are you gonna let down? You can't, And then when they get there, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate feeling. When you can say, hey, you know what, you remember when you were about to give up? Look at you now.
Look at you now.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly.
That's the best, man.
Exactly.
man.
Although I haven't had one of those stories lately.
Nah.
I haven't had one of those stories,
Nah.
man. Oh my God. That's why I say it's an alarming amount of people that the stress
I mean,
factor.
I look at these
they
guys,
bail.
man, and like these guys, man, like this is
It's
an inspiration.
I think
You know?
we run into a little bit of the same thing. We're trying to find a new barber and stuff like that. And we run into the similar thing of trying to find one that's gonna fit, right? Because I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's an investment in both ways, right? You're investing in them, they're investing in you, and you want to make sure you have the right person. Like it's not about are they the best, but are they willing to learn? Are they willing to hustle? Are they willing to grow into something? And
Totally.
and
Like,
I think that's
like that one guy that we had to let go like within the first haircut. I was just like, his first day, he shows up 15 minutes after the appointment, and I'm just like, and not only that, I told Blue, I said, look, if it was my first day showing up to the barbershop, you should be waiting for me at the door, not me waiting for you at the door.
Oh, that's a bad.
and you
that's
gotta
a red
sit down.
flag
Nah,
right
bro.
there.
We let him go because it was just like he was pretty much a mess, but it was just like, but I was just like, man, like he because we don't just hire, we like interview and everything. I'm like, man, you hustled all your way over here just to not hustle. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's like you can't you gotta constantly hustle. Like that guy, he just wanted it to be easy, and like he was one of the ones that. Not only that, I told him, I said, I'm gonna need you here all the time. I was like, especially Saturdays, and he went from I can be here all the time to, and he hasn't even cut a hair yet. And he was like, I can be here. I got a second job just to get through, and I was just like, all right, man, but I need you here, and like these days. And he was just like,
nope.
And let
You
him
should
go.
immediately been like, you know what, bro? It's nice meeting you.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
for
the
real,
craziest
like just to
thing-
be honest,
Right.
man.
This is the
craziest
because
thing.
look, man.
He
look,
called us for 3 months
I
trying
don't
to
give
get
a damn
the
how
jab.
many times he called. You better
No.
block his number. Look,
I don't know.
no,
If
I'm
you
just
block his
saying.
number, he
I'm
won't
just
call
saying.
back
I mean,
again.
now, like once you realize it, you're like, all right.
right. I'm just saying, man.
Yeah.
Like you know what you want here.
But
We know what we want.
He
here
looked
in the
hungry
shop.
because he kept bothering us. He not bothering us. He kept calling us and calling us. So I'm like, oh, this guy's a hustler because he's calling me all the time.
Okay.
I'm not even reaching out to him. He's calling me. So I'm like, okay. And then I talked to him and I'm like, okay, you're a people person too. You're good at talking.
Mm-hmm.
I like that about you. And then once he got the job, he flipped it. And I was like, I'm gonna give you a chance because I'm gonna give you a chance. And I gave him that once he got here that first day, I was just like, he screwed up, and I was like, all right, you gotta go, man. Like,
Well, that was good. You took care of it immediately.
Yeah.
Because look, I've had already experience too, and I've fallen victim to it because one, I try to get into that like, look, everybody deserves a shot and a chance
course.
and so forth.
Of course.
You know, but you already, I should have known because like, look, I've hired and fired people when I was with the corporate right company, and majority of the times we're talking like 99% of the time when somebody does something like that that's alarming, red flag or whatever, especially showing up. I mean, that's like the first rule. That's like you got to show up on time, right?
Yeah.
Like And when you see that, like he said, he's like, no, like that's just, and it's good that you were able to knock it out before it became an issue where you gave them a shot and then they come in again another time and give them another shot. Then they're already here for 2 to 3 weeks, right? It's harder to let somebody go when they're already kind of like their shit's already all fucking, nestled in and so forth. Then it's like, it becomes a like, hey, well, fuck your ass. Well, I never want to fucking work here anyway. You know what I mean? Fuck you anyway. You know what I mean? The whole way out, right? Versus hey, man, I gave you a shot.
right.
We did argue. We definitely argued.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we definitely argued. But
Okay, straight up.
I was just like,
I've had it too, man.
Yeah,
When it goes
yeah.
down, I'm like,
But that
I've
was
called
that was
everything in the book,
But that was
too.
kind of a lesson learned too, because like I think you were trying to help him still and explain, and that's what we had talked about. Like, I think you were trying to help him out, explain, and like he told me the story later on, and I was like, no, you don't need to explain. Like, that was done. Like, just tell him to leave. Like, don't waste 30
Don't waste
minutes.
no more time. Right? Don't ain't no need.
I've learned that.
No need for that.
There's no like I've learned that.
Sickle.
You get you give him ammunition. You know what I mean? You give him something to chew on, and then that's when the conversation starts stringing out, rather than, hey, no, you're just not reliable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, now like I'm like,
Yeah.
now it's like a dry season. We can't get a barber to come in here right now. I'm like, man, where are all the barbers at?
So speaking of that, I'm going through the same thing, you know, and that's what I was hoping we'd talk about a little bit and just put it out there, because I'm calling out barbers nowadays, man. These young cats that just, you know, there's no substance. It's all about status at this point. You know, fake it, kind of like you made it. There's nothing sustainable. Everybody's moving around. Musical barbers, right? They're not. They're, as soon as they go and like just show up late or they do this, they make their home chaotic with their coworkers. Like, some of them may be talking shit in the background, like, check out, he don't know how to fucking cut. He don't, you know what he says. And then you create chaos within, and then it's like, all right, well, it's time to go. Like, then he hops to another shop, right? And then he's like a cancer, right? He goes in another shop and does the same thing. Yeah. Versus like, hey man, you know, stay in your lane. You know, find a good, comfortable shop. If it's not busy, well then you make it busy. But you got a good surrounding crew that's really good. That's where you want to work, somewhere where you got positivity. But these barbers right now, it's hard to find somebody. One, they get out of school and they don't know anything. I don't know. You've been getting people in that just like they're like, all right, let me see you cut or whatever, and like, oh my God, like it's like you know, the lines are just crooked. You know, fade is choppy. You know, they went too high, you know, like you just name it. And it's like, man, like, you know, now I got to teach you, you know?
Yeah. And then there's a lot of barbers that, like, I went and spoke at a school, and I can see like 3 of the barbers looking at me already saying like, I'm better than him. And I'm like, I'm the one that's coming with the business. You're right. You don't even got a business yet. And you're like looking at me like, I'm better than you. And I'm like, you can be the best haircut, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You can do the best fades in the world, but I'll steal that client from you because I know I can speak to them. I treat them better. I make them feel at home, and like you're not willing to learn from me, then that's cool. But you're never gonna move up because you're constantly just like, you think only the haircut matters, and it's not like that.
I mean, I'm just thinking about something right now. You know, I think that a lot of people don't understand that cutting hair is a craft, man. You know, and not only is it a craft, but it's an opportunity for you to actually meet people and establish a rapport with people, and you know, a relationship with people. And I don't think that you know, younger barber, I don't think they get that. I think that younger barbers, they probably just looking at the money.
But I think
you know what I'm saying.
But I think some of it is also built by the atmosphere, right? So I think a piece of it, the industry. So if you look at it, I think there's more barbershops, and maybe there's been a few. I think there's been a few out there, you know, where you could go in, you can learn, you can be around. You're not gonna be. Versus if you really look at the majority of San Antonio barbershops, in my opinion, the majority of them, they have this atmosphere of kind of what you were talking about, like the chop shops. Like, you go to certain ones, it's like, oh, everyone's fighting with each other, everyone's trying to undercut each other, and so you build that atmosphere of it's just like dog eat dog. Everyone's out for themselves. You watch out for everyone, and so then you're trying to build another atmosphere of someone trying to say, "Okay, now I'm going to help you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to work with you. We're working with each other."
Which is strange to them after the fact.
Yeah, like that's because they've already been burned. They've already been beat up. They've been this and that.
Right.
Yeah. So
and that is out there, and I you know, it's hard to get that to come across, but he was right. You know, to piggyback on what he was saying, which is, you know, that's an opportunity for you to pick somebody's brain that's in your chair. that's an opportunity for them to get that back from you. Maybe you
know?
know something from the last guy
You
that was
know?
in here who's having some issues with maybe buying a house. Maybe you're trying to open up a business.
Yeah.
Or maybe you got lawyer issues, right? You got, something going on that you need some advice. Well, I got a lawyer that I cut his hair. Let me give you his card.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that transpire within
Endless,
that
bro.
scene.
Yeah, a
Endless,
lot of it.
bro.
A lot of it has
A
to
lot.
be teaching people how to go long. Look at the long game versus the short game. So like, and that's just in life, right? Like you got to look at it from a long term. Like we've been talking about, it's about investing in each other, right? Like that's one of the things. Like, if you're a barber, you're listening to this, you want to work at one of our shops, like come in, but understand we're gonna invest in you, you invest in us, and we figure it out.
Yeah.
Because that's a piece of it. Like you gotta, like for me, like I've worked in corporate America. I think it's been about like 16 years now.
Damn.
I forgot it was about 16 years. I didn't even realize my 20 year high school reunion happened. I didn't even realize I was out of high school for 20 years. It felt weird thinking about that.
You were in high school in the 1900s. In the 1900s. Hey, that sounds funny.
That was
You were in the
way
1900s.
back. Yeah.
That's wild.
I was in the towards the end of the 1900s.
It was crazy.
Okay.
Is our
But-
grandpa was born in 1900. 1900, like
But it's-
not 1920s.
Yeah.
1900. Our grandpa was born in.
Damn.
It's like because like where I was headed was like I moved to different companies after a certain while, but a lot of it was never for the money. Like the money was gonna come. I figured as long as I was learning and I'd rather have. My biggest thing when I left a company or I left a department was if they told me there was no more room to grow. If there's always room to grow, I don't care what I'm getting paid because I know I'll grow and I'll get there and they're going to pay me the money. But if you tell me, okay, there's no more opportunity to grow or there's no openings and we don't know when we're going to have another one for you to be promoted or move up, then to me, that's the red flag of, all right, I need to figure
move
something
up.
else because
Gotta move
I
around.
need that growth path. I need to see where I'm going because I don't want to stay stagnant. Like if, you stay stagnant, your role gets replaced in India, Mexico, or a robot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's something happens, right? Where you start to feel like you're in a cycle, right?
Yeah.
And you just you every day showing up to work, same old thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a good feeling.
yeah.
Not a good feeling. But like you said, like as far as like, industries and the barbers, the culture and so forth with barbers, and what you learn to do, and as far as the consistency and stay with it, like what he was saying too is like, this younger cat, right? Barber was already like, I'm better than you, kind of like attitude, right? But they don't look at it the long run, right? The long haul. So real quick, right? So the long haul would be like, yeah, you could probably be better than me that first day, right? Maybe you got more heads cut than me that day, but I'm here every day. I don't run so fast to where I get burnt out, go spend my money, party out, get burnt out, so that I don't show up the next day. You know what I mean? And then, by the way, I'll be here when you're absent.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So I look at the
Come on with
year.
them facts.
Yeah, if
Come
we
on
look
now.
at the end of the year, who made
Who
more
make
money?
the most? Yeah, right. Come
Not
on
at
with
the
facts.
week,
Come on
the
now.
fucking day.
Yeah, come
I
on
know
with the facts,
at
bro.
the end of the year.
Come on with the
And
facts,
that's
On
why-
my no.
That's what I mean.
You're
A lot
right.
of us don't understand what wealth actually means.
Yeah.
Like we think we go buy an expensive car that like you buy it brand new, you lost half your depreciation the moment you drove it off,
right.
and we're like, oh
Come
yeah,
on.
we got a big, great car. Yeah, the rich person's going over there and investing in land because they know that's going to keep going.
yeah.
They're investing in stuff that's going to keep growing,
Right.
and then when they have their disposable income, they're going to go buy that nice car. But they're gonna invest the majority of their income.
With disposable income.
Right, there you
Disposable.
go. Exactly. Right. And you work hard to build that,
Yeah.
that safety, the cushion, whatever you want to call it, toward the disposable income where you can do things like that. But you gotta work hard
Exactly.
to get to that level. And don't just start. You work hard. I deserve this automatically. No. That's called discipline, right? So I was watching some podcasts recently. They talk about discipline, right? So what is discipline, right? What are people's thresholds of discipline? All right, there's motherfuckers that are doing 4 years hard discipline, 10 years of discipline where I'm working and putting money away. But some people think like, I just work hard for the 6 months, save up for that, and I save up for the year. No, there's people that put in hard time of discipline. We're like, no, we're not spending. We're keeping 20 G's in the bank. So we're going to, or 50 G's. Can you imagine that? Like just I've only gotten to a point where I'm like, all right, I worked hard and I saved up 14, right? No, there's motherfuckers that got 50K. Like, I'm like, how did you get? Well, we saved up. We didn't do anything for like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Discipline. That's the difference. Like that's the
finances.
Right. So you don't know what your level of discipline is and your threshold is all I'm saying. They just nowadays everybody's looking at days and months and shit.
That's one of the things that irritate me about a lot of barbers is stay in the damn shops. Like you guys come in like another barber I worked with shows up at 12 and then I would watch them and then they would take off. I'm gonna go to lunch. I'm like, yeah, it's 2:00, bro. You only been here for 2 hours. Take a 2-hour lunch. Come back. They're sitting there for maybe like 2 more hours, and they're like, man, it's been slow.
So
I'm
slow,
like,
right?
I was like, dude, when I started, I'm not a morning person, so I'm not gonna show up to the barber shop like at 8:00. I would show up at 10, but I would leave at 7.
Right.
And I stayed, and I would sit there and stay. I wouldn't eat lunch. I wouldn't do anything. I would just sit there. I would, even if I'm on lunch, like if I'm eating a burger and I see someone walk in, guess what? That burger's not gonna be finished. I'm gonna go and cut your hair. They'll be like, "Oh no, it's good." Like, nah, man, I got you. Let's go. I'll pop the gum and we're gonna. And like, you gotta hustle and hustle and hustle.
So you're right about that. I did the same thing, man. I sat in a shop the same sizes they. I had even my kids would wait for me till 7:00, and if somebody walked in at 7, like. They'd be looking at me. I'd be looking at the customer. I look at them, and I'd be like,
"Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do what I gotta do." But here's the thing: I didn't go, "Yeah, come on in, man. I got you, man." And no, I stayed there and did a quality cut. If it took me the hour, I made sure that was a quality cut because one, if I'm gonna make my kids wait and put, it's gonna be for an investment, right? For something good. I want this guy to come back. Yeah. Then it was worth it. Worth it, right? So like that's another thing too is like people come in like that that barber that you were talking about. When they leave, that's when somebody knocks on the door and says, "Hey, you got any barbers?" And you're like, well, shit. He just let.
He's right there down the street.
But that's
go get him.
That's the part I'm talking about. The discipline is like as soon as you throw in the towel.
Yeah.
That's when the fucking opportunity comes. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be ready for opportunity at all times. And so
I got a perfect story for that. Because when I was at the other shop, I was like always busy. I'm walking out. This dude's walking in. I'm supposed to be going on a date, and he goes, "Man, you can't fit me in." I said, "Man, the date's about like in 20-30 minutes." I was like, yeah, dude. I walked right back into the shop and I was like, and I walked right back into the shop. I cut his hair. He's been coming to me ever since.
There you go.
Ryan Camp. He always cut. I just cut his hair this week.
Hold on. So
there.
Wait, I got a question. So what happened with the date?
Oh, well, she works with me now.
So it worked out all the way around, bro.
Worked all the way around. But like, right on. I could have just been like, bro. With that, I'm like, you know what? That guy can be a potential long-time customer. And look, now Ryan was just here this week. Literally this week he came in. He was just like, he hit me up, got a haircut. I was just like, and that was just from me saying, I was literally out the door. Like he stopped me at the door and he was just like,
come on, bro.
I got you. That goes a long way.
I think if someone's supporting you and they're like, and you're doing it to hustle for your business. Like, hey, people are gonna be cool with it. Now, if you're not showing up for other reasons, like then people are like,
no, you're right.
So as we start wrapping up, I mean, you want to throw out your barbershop and where they can find you and stuff?
Yeah, you can find me at 2021 San Pedro. We're at the rooftop barbershop again, and you can book me online. You can look me up, San Miguel's Barbershop, on Instagram, Facebook. Even Google search me, San Miguel's Barbershop, and book your appointments. Come see us. Come check out the shop. It's a pretty cool shop. Like I said, it's got a cool view. It's got a vintage look. we're looking forward to seeing some new business in there, and maybe get some good chats going on, and see how you're doing in life, and I'll tell you about mine. I always talk about my life with people. So.
That's cool. Yeah,
right on.
And we'll have the information in the description as well,
Yeah.
so you can click on it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have that on there. As we wrap up, a couple quick questions. And you've given a lot already, but what's one last piece of advice you would give to a new barber coming into the industry?
Obviously it's a hustle, right? So, I would give this advice. You need to start looking at it differently, and start picking and choosing your customers instead of your customers choosing you. When you're out and about and you see somebody's hair you'd like to cut, I mean, there's something about a chemistry where you're like, man, I like that haircut, and I think I'd be great complimenting that haircut if he were cut by me. Yeah. So it's always a plus to pick and choose your customers rather than them walk in and get like a dry handoff, or kind of like, where you're not too sure if we're gonna click as a partnership, right? You as a customer, me as your barber. It's much easier when you go out and you choose your customers. So that's a real big thing for me. And just stay disciplined and be consistent. Mental focus. When you're in the shop long hours, find some things to do to keep yourself motivated and stay in the seat. Stay in your chair. If you are not busy, do not leave the shop. You're your worst enemy. Your mind is your worst enemy. And that's my biggest advice.
That really quick. You know what I used to tell myself? Like when I was at the shop the whole day and I only got like 3 cuts, I was like, oh, I only worked three cuts. So that's like the other times it's just free time. And I make it where it's like, oh, I didn't work that much today. So I would constantly like hustle in between that. And I tell people, like, if you tell yourself, I've been in the barbershop all day and got no haircuts except for these 3, it's like, no, you got 3 haircuts within that little amount of time if you put it together. So you made that much money within that little amount of time. All the other time is free time. So you should be doing hustling. Right. Yeah, you should be investing in yourself. Like, but you have to do those things, because if not, you're going to talk yourself out of it.
And that's part of like you're your worst enemy. It's exactly the thing I've been saying is just like that. Your mind will play tricks on you, and you'll start telling yourself that you start doubting and all these things, and you start breaking apart. So yeah, definitely.
So one last question. I always like to ask this from the either barbers or service industry, because there's always weird conversations that go on in the barbershop. We used to do a speed round, and we kind of slowed that down because it wasn't really a speed round. But I always do like this question. What's the weirdest story you heard from someone sitting in your barber chair?
The weirdest story.
The weirdest, craziest story.
Or the weirdest thing that's happened.
Yeah, we've had some weird stories in here.
Really?
People talking about lizard people and junk like that.
Yeah. That's a good one, man. I can't really think. I mean, I'm sure I've had some crazy stories, man. But some
nothing
of the
that
ones,
sticks out.
Nothing really stands out. It's always on the fly, and then it's gone. You have to get it when it's hot. And some of the things that happen when it comes to kids, or when it comes to wives doing some crazy stuff, or somebody gets caught or doing something bad, cheating and stuff. But there's one that rings right now, man. God, I normally have something good too. So,
what's the craziest thing that's happened in your shop?
Oh, well, I had a barber that just popped off, and just started just going off on me, man. When you're trying to have him, exit them through the door and try and do it, cool in the right way, and it's just
he was giving you the business, huh?
Yeah.
We already at our shop just like 2 weeks ago. His name's Paul, and I won't tell the story about Paul out here, but if you guys come by, you will find out that's the reason why there's a red chair in the back over there. But Paul became famous in our shop. He's a nice guy, but he stunk up the place.
Oh, he blew it up or what? Or he's just like a dirty guy?
He blew it up, but it wasn't even in the restroom.
He blew it up.
So that's when you gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's right. And then I was like, Paul, you gotta go.
Now you gotta go.
Well, with that said, hey, Chris, we appreciate you being on, and thanks.
Right on. Yeah, I gotta go then.
Yeah.
Local love is forever.
Right on.
All right.